Good morning and welcome to part 3 of Gaia was a fetus. Up until I went to start this video it was nice and quiet, but then I can hear a plane and now my next door neighbour has decided to use some kind of power tool. So let me see if you can still hear me. Alright, you can hear me and I fucking can't even make this shit up, but as soon as I pressed stop and tried to listen to the sound, the power tool stopped, and literally as I went to press play again, the power tool starts again. So fucking there's some coincidence to start the day. Alright, now back on track. We were talking about Gaia when she was a fetus. So I'm going to apologise now that it's going to be a bit sporadic, but as some of you may realise by this stage, if I try and sit and put it in some kind of order, I'll never get the information out. So you guys just get fucking what you get. Sorry about that. Okay. So a couple of things just quickly from the last video. I said there were 7 timelines. There's 14 really, because there's a shadow side and a light side of each timeline. We're not meant to sit in either. We're in the middle, fucking balancing that shit out. Anyway, so, alright, I'll start over on this page. So, in pregnancy, there are sort of 3 phases. There's the embryonic stage, which is your first trimester. Alright, and that includes the conception and everything. Alright, so in the last video I accidentally said that the first 13 days is rapid cell division, and then I was like, oh, hang on, no, that's 3 days, not 13. However, I'm assuming I said 13 because technically pregnancy starts 7 to 10 days before your last period, because that's before your last period was due, right? So I'm assuming that Sarah, Rose and Joshua were conceived. I assume the act happened 10 days before the last period was due. So then you plus the 3 days of the rapid cell division and there's your 13 days. So anyway, that's just a guess, but could be right, I reckon. Okay, so, and I just want to say that this wasn't my first theory. Like, I went through a lot of other theories before I landed on this one and went, holy shit, there's no way it can't be right. So things to think about. The chromosomes from Jesus, so the chromosomes that came from the sperm, if you think about, if you were a sperm, you would know that God created you, because sperm is created on the go, okay? But if you were an egg chromosome, you would know that we are part of God. So we are God. So does that make sense? So that's why there's 2 fucking disciplines or whatever, 2 theories. There's the people saying we are God, all together we are God, and then there's people saying no, God is outside of us. Well, that's why, because you're both right. Let's have a look here. Okay, so the confusion. Hello. The confusion is because each stage of the fetal development, each timeline, is just whatever's happening at that stage, trying to make sense of what happened before them. So, so they're the generations. So each of our generations, I don't know how many generations, how many up to? Oh, do we have 9 generations? That would be really fucking handy. I don't know how many generations we have, but my point is, to what, on a quantum level, let's say, what was like the embryo trying to make sense of conception, the Big Bang, and then the fetal stage, and the fetal stage trying to make sense of what happened before it, the embryonic stage, it's each generation trying to understand the generation before that, right? So, as I said yesterday, when the fucking rapid cell thing happens, it doesn't create new or bigger, it's just, it condenses, okay? So, alright, there's so much, but, alright, let's talk embryonic for a minute. So, as I said, the two sets of chromosomes merge and it becomes a cell. And that cell becomes two cells. All within the one cell, it becomes two cells, it becomes 4 cells, it becomes 8 cells. Then it becomes like 16 cells, tissue, up to hundreds of cells. But just keeping in mind those first 8 like cells, did you know that there were 8 popes? So the pope is meant to be celibate, right? But before the 11th century, there were 8 popes who were married with kids, okay? And then when the 11th century hit, the Catholic Church, Roman, whatever it is, enforced the celibacy, right? Now, the 11th century would have been our 19th week of gestation, which is when movement like the baby kicking becomes more noticeable. And interestingly enough, the 19th week of gestation is when the fetus, because it's a fetus by then, when their hearing and touch develop. So that's a funny coincidence, isn't it? So, all right. What I'm assuming is, so in the first, when it's the fucking, what's it called? The zygote, and then it becomes the blastocyte. That, before it becomes a fetus, any of the cells, any of the chromosomes, alright, I've been saying along how we're DNA and RNA and that, and we are, but that's the new generations, the last few generations trying to make sense of the world. What time are we at? Before that, it was a bit messy, right? Because there's no record, that's prehistoric. So, that was the other thing. Okay. BC is before conception, because you don't conceive the minute the sperm are released. Like, they've got to go find the egg first, and then they have to merge, and then they have to implant, and there's a lot. So that's BC is before conception. AD is after development of the embryo, okay? That's what the timelines really mean. And then we've got the Common Era, which I think would have started, why did I put that? So the end of the first trimester, which would have been 9 weeks. I'll have to rejig that. I'll go into more of that the next video. But basically, I must have read it. So if what I've, no, I've got a couple minutes. All right. So this is a real blabber one. I'm sorry about that. But I am going to cut it at 10 to make different parts, so it's easier for you guys. But no, I'm going to do that now, and then I'm going to regroup. Basically, anyone who is in their first incarnation group currently transitioning into their second incarnation group, that's because you guys became chromatids in the 13th week of pregnancy, so your incarnation group will include anyone from the year 676 to now. And then anyone before the year 676, they are people like me, the 8.3%, alright? So that's the end of part 3. Sorry about the messiness, but I will be back in just a moment with part 4.